Hey everyone! I have been asked to make some videos by some of my customers about the process of making soap. So today I'm going to make my After 8 soap, which is a cocoa butter based soap that has hints of spearmint, eucalyptus, and some vanilla notes as well. It is also colored with 4 colors, green, titanium dioxide, and cocoa. So let's get started. So I have my lye water here, and I'm just adding a bit of a brine mixture to my lye water. I just find I like the way that it adds a little bit of bubbles. It's a sweet brine, so it is salt and sugar mixed into that lye water. And it creates extra bubbles in the soap. It also helps the soap be a little bit harder as well, by a tiny bit. So I'm just making sure I've got that mixed up well enough. And I'm adding that to my oils. I'm soaping at about 100 degrees today. That's usually around where I soap. I don't have the patience all the time to wait to get to room temperature. But there you go. Sometimes you just can't wait. So I'm going to bring this to a very light trace, basically just an emulsification. And this is going to be loud. I apologize. So again, it's just a very light, just an emulsification kind of stage. Now I soap at a very low amounts of fragrance. I like my soaps to be as gentle as possible so that everyone can enjoy them. And I only use essential oils as well. I've been asked to do some fragrance oils, and it might be something I consider in the future, but I haven't been able to decide on that yet. So I'm just going to separate off my batter, if I can find the right side. So I'm going to do 8. So I'm doing a small batch today for the purposes of the video so I don't run into any issues. So I'm separating my batter off into 8 ounces each. So I'm going to start with my dark cocoa. So to this one here, I'm going to add a couple of spoonfuls of cocoa. So this is like the darkest of the chocolates. And then I'm going to reserve some because I do almost a milk chocolate layer as well. Then in this little cup here, I just have some benzoin. Now benzoin you don't want to use a lot of in your soap. If you use large quantities, it can be a skin sensitizer, but I'm only using half of a teaspoon for about a pound of soap batter. So I'm going to put half of that in here. And I'm going to put half in my other layer. And what I like about using that in the soap, it just tends to add to that chocolatey scent and rounds it out with some vanilla warm notes. And benzoin is known to stabilize colors as well, which is always nice. Try and scrape that all off. And then I'm going to give that a quick whiz just to make sure my cocoa isn't bunching up anywhere. And I like to add my color and my fragrance to my layers separately so I can guarantee they stay more fluid. I find if you add it all together, it can speed things up on you. And as well, I use a pretty significant water discount to my soaps. So we don't want it to So I poured about half of it into the bottom, and I'm just going to let that sit. Then I'm going to take this layer here, new spatula here, of course. And then this is my spearmint. I add the scents to my different layers separately. I find it just helps the scent stay true. So I have a green layer coming as well, so that will hold the other half of my mint. And I just find with these type of scents, because a lot of my cocoa scent is coming from my cocoa butter, if you add the scent to the whole thing, the scent can become muddled and you lose some of your cocoa scent to the mint. So this is my titanium dioxide layer. We don't want to mess that up. So I'm pouring a little bit of it at a time so that I can control how white this becomes. And as well, putting the mint in here and not the benzoin also keeps the color very true. So I'm going to add all of it. You know what, I think I'm actually going to do the soap a bit different this time because my colors are staying really nice and fluid. So I'm going to pour all this cocoa in. Like that. And you could save some for the top. I don't like to save the dark chocolate so much. I just find it makes it look a little muddled on the soap, and we don't want that. As well, when your soap stays nice and thin, you can make sure you get all of the bits and pieces out. You don't want to waste good soap. So for my customers who are watching, this soap is raw at this point, which means you don't want this to touch your skin. The lye is still active in this soap. So when lye is active, it will cause burns to the skin. So I'm just going to take my white, and I'm going to pour like half of it from a height. Like that. Now I'm going to do my green. So again, another spatula, and I'm already starting to thicken up a tiny bit. So I'm going to pour the rest of my essential oil into this one for this layer. And then I'm going to pour my green oxide. And I'm pouring a little bit at a time to make sure I get the color I want. So this soap's name comes from a pretty simple place. It reminds you of an After Eight chocolate. Which is my husband's favorite, After Eight. So then I'm going to add a little bit of cocoa to this layer. Not nearly as much as I did to the other layer. And then add in the rest of my benzoin. And then just so I get some lightness, I'm going to add the little scraps of titanium dioxide I have here, just to keep that soap a little lighter than the other layer. And as long as you're keeping your batter moving, it will usually stay pretty fluid. I'm not using anything that accelerates at all. And if there's a little bit of cocoa left undissolved, it honestly doesn't bother me. It adds a little bit of interest to the soap, which is always nice. So I'm going to hold it up a bit higher so it goes deeper into the soap. And these little spoon type spatulas are the best, I find, for really getting the soap out. I've used all different kinds of spatulas, and these are definitely the best. Now I'm just going to go through and add my other layers. And try not to make a mess. I try and be neat, but sometimes it doesn't work out so well. And then you want to leave a little bit of scraping for the top to make a little bit of texture, but not too much. So for soapers who are curious, my percent lye mixture is 30 for this. And I just find it still gives me lots of time to do what I want. Dropping stuff on the floor over there. So I'm just going to take this little stir stick and I'm just going to make sure, and then I'm going to do it once from this direction. And I'm just going to take a clean paper towel and I'm going to go around and clean up my edges a little bit. And then the stuff that I reserved for the top, I'm just going to drizzle over the top. And I'm just going to do it right on top of the soap so that, and I'm left-handed, so if I'm in your way, I'm sorry. But probably should have thought about that ahead of time, but I didn't. And then I like to go through and make sure I've used everything like I was supposed to. Because sometimes when you're rushing, or not that I really have to rush with this soap, to be really honest. find I have lots of time.